There appears to be a small fire that is starting inside. You can see people outside gawking a little bit. I can tell you, photojournalist Tim Visti, who we are also with, is calling 911.
We now have fire trucks coming our way. So again, this is what I'm saying, where it is calm, and then it just picks up in an instant.
You've now look at the raging fire. It was a small fire, and now look at it. Jeremy?
And Jim, we've seen this build. I want to immediately say that from our 911 call, it took Chicago firefighters, police officers, about 10 minutes to get here. Considering all that's going on, pretty decent response time. And you can see the firefighters battling the flames and the smoke right now. This thing lit up in only a matter of minutes.
How many people do you see on the street there? We see, I don't know, 5 or so people walking in front of you right now. And it's quite clear that the police officers are moving people south on State Street. How many people do you see out there?
There's not a lot of people on the street right here. Like you said, there's a handful in front of me. What I believe they're doing is they're trying to section off parts of the city right now. They're trying to get further away from Trump Tower, which is north of us.
So to echo what we just heard Dave talking about, we are seeing police have been moving down the street, except now we're about to see it get a little confrontational because they were moving down an empty street before, and now we are seeing where they are meeting some of the people that were left over, and it's not going well. And as Dave had mentioned, we have seen that tension play out with a lot of vandalism on cop cars. I spotted at least 24. But our news crew is over there. So we're gonna
Let's go to CBS
sure
2's.
that they stay safe.
Let's go to Jermont Terry. Go ahead, Jermont.
All right, Jim, I'm coming down Madison right now. We're going to turn around. You can see that there was just a disturbance with the protesters right outside the Walgreens on State Street. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep going. I can tell you that I was at this area earlier today, and police tried to maintain order, but that has not happened throughout the course of this day. So right now, we're back on Dearborn, okay? We're back on Dearborn. You can see that cops are coming, trying to maintain order. This is Illinois State Police racing down Dearborn. Yes, Jim.
Jermont, we want you to find some safe place. Why don't you do that now? We'll get back to you a little bit later.
Yes, we're good right now. It was just a disturbance on State. I'm here with Dave Savini. We've been covering this throughout the evening. And the thing that I think that you can even chime in, Dave, is that it was the magnitude of how things changed throughout the night.
It's gone back and forth, back and forth. Just a couple of hours ago, right on this street, there was a fire. They blew up a police squad. Now we just had an eruption in the crowd. There was a clash right here, as you can see. He just threw a protester, a rioter.
Dave Savini and Jermont Terry, thank
Heavy
you. But
police presence right here
we're
at
going
the
to leave
corner.
you now. We want you to find a safer place, as police are clearly trying to move protesters, people who have been downtown all day. They're trying to move them south on State Street. Again, squad car on fire, State and Lake. And this is playing out all over the central part of Chicago, downtown, near North Side, River North. Fires erupting, fires in cars, fires set by violent protesters. It has been a day of chaos. It has been a day of confusion. It has been a frightening day for a lot of people. Watching the skirmishes, watching the fights between police and protesters and among protesters themselves. We have CBS 2's Dorothy Tucker on the phone right now. Dorothy?
Jim, I heard you say a little earlier that this is one of the worst protests we've ever seen in a very long time, and I completely agree with you. I've been watching our coverage for the last few hours, and it just has gotten worse and worse. Every minute. Even when Laquan McDonald, when we had those protests a few years ago, we didn't see this kind of damage. One of the things that I think is different is I don't know whether perhaps the police had a better plan or different plan, but for some reason protesters were not able to break the barrier, whereas this time they are.
Take it easy! Take it easy!
We saw at least 2 or 3 arrests there, and you can see police officers pushing a demonstrator away. A flag burned at the Cook County building at 69 West Washington, all as Chicago police tried to keep the crowd under control.
About 15 minutes ago, this crowd tried to push through these police officers. Those officers did not budge. They moved about a foot closer, and many people ran. And this is what we've been seeing for the majority of the night. The demonstrators and Chicago police essentially standing face to face, having this demonstration that has been going on throughout the city all day. As you can see, police are not forceful. They are standing guard, just trying to maintain a little bit of order, as so many people has shut down downtown Chicago and cars cannot go anywhere.
He is downtown as well. Dave?
All right, there's a foot chase right now in Macy's. Police are in here chasing looters. They're running up and down the stairwells. They just found them. You could see Macy's has been devastated. You see the police are running. Brad, can you see that? They're all running through now. They've got a few cornered up in the back of the building. So there are people still in Macy's. Macy's got hit hard, folks. And the looters are still in here. They're chasing them down inside. I have some new information from some police sources on the scene. They say that they're guessing as many as 100 officers have been taken to the hospital so far. They believe that they've cleared this side of the river, the south side of the river, pretty well now. They're going through buildings and looking for looters that are still hanging around and stealing things. But they believe that they have cleared this side. We talked about how they were going down in waves down all these streets, down State Street, heading south, and then heading westbound on the other streets like Madison and Washington, and pushing them west of the city. But they say the big activity right now, the big activity is occurring north of the river. They're chasing. Brad, can you see them in there? You're watching police cornering people right now in Macy's. There's a lot. I counted at least 10 looters in there that they had cornered, and they were on other floors. I mean, this is a massive building. The square footage here is amazing. They're going floor by floor now looking for the looters. They can't even tell me how many cars have been damaged. They can't even put a number on that. I was talking to police on the scene here. They don't even know. But one officer came up to me and showed me his car. He said that they used an explosive device to blow up his car. And I have a picture of it, so we'll post it up later. All right, they've got some men in handcuffs right now. Brad, can you see them? They're making some arrests in Macy's. They've caught some of the looters.
We now have Chicago police standing guard at State and Lake. You can hear that a fire engine is coming. This is the second time that a fire crew has attempted to get to this vehicle that you see on fire just north of Lake here on State Street. This vehicle, the fire truck the first time was unable. I'm going to pull my photographer to the left a little bit. As you can see right now, there are vehicles burning just north of Lake. Around 8 o'clock, there were reports that people were trying to break inside City Hall. Thankfully, that did not happen. There was some tagging that went on, but right now, in this 8 o'clock hour on this Saturday night, you can see that Chicago police are standing guard, safely securing City Hall, despite the graffiti that's been tagged throughout the entire building. And here it is at 8:10, the Bank of America here on LaSalle and Lake, obviously broken into by now looters. You can see the damage to the bank. If we walk a little further to the side here, I want to show you that we have people that have been going inside the bank at some point. Not sure what they've gotten, but just take a look at all the glass.
This is the what's left of a police car. They were bombed. Earlier today, we were on a street just a block from here on Madison, and the rioters had set a cruiser on fire, and we're going to show you that video from earlier today.
Fires and explosions. This is not the peaceful protest that city leaders asked for. This destruction appears to be from a rogue group away from the main crowd of protesters near the Trump Tower. They are wreaking havoc and destroying everything they can.
This is the corner of Madison and Dearborn where they've started a squad car, an unmarked squad, on fire, and there's been several explosions. Probably some kind of live ammunition maybe in that car.
Police race to this burning car and also try to chase down those vandalizing and setting the fires. As smoke filled the streets, firefighters raced to block the burning car to try and put out the flames before explosives inside detonate from the heat, and the chaos continues.
Jim, this is the Cozy right down the street from CBS 2, and you know, the glass everywhere, building unsecured. I got to imagine police are going to be coming by, or security is going to be coming by at some point to try and secure these buildings.
If we look ahead here, we got somebody on the ground. It does look like he is being detained. Several officers are around him where you're looking. We're walking up on it right now. We're obviously going to give police their distance to work, but there are several officers on top of what appears to be a demonstrator right here. There is a scuffle. We want to let you listen. We're being pushed back right now by police. We're behind their line. We're being pushed back. There is a scuffle. Several officers on top of somebody. We are being backed up, as you can tell, by these officers. Yep, no problem. Be safe, guys.
We can't help but think about the riots that occurred after the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King. Here today in Chicago and across the country, there have been lots of protests, some of which, like this one here in Chicago, have turned violent over the death of George Floyd, the African-American man who died after a Minneapolis police officer put his knee on the man's neck for several minutes, though the man was pleading that he could not breathe. In the city today, we heard protesters shout, "George Floyd, I can't breathe." It was peaceful at first, and then it became violent.
From Federal Plaza, they marched north on Dearborn, mainly chanting George Floyd's name and the words, "I can't breathe." Calm initially, but with each block, tension grew. Protesters sprayed graffiti on multiple loop buildings and on squad cars. This flag was burned at Washington and Dearborn. At this same intersection, skirmishes erupted between protesters and police. Officers arrested this man. Along the way, police tried to block streets to limit access. Then it was across the river to Trump Tower. A massive group of protesters moved on the enormous building built a decade ago by President Trump when he was a real estate developer. Here, protesters threw objects at police and damaged and rocked squad cars.
And as we mentioned, multiple stores in the Loop and near North Side have been broken into and looted.
This is the remains of what appeared to be a car fire, at least earlier. There was thousands of people around here chanting, jumping on the car, throwing fuel to this fire. And I know I've referenced it a few times, but this was actually the blaze that we saw that firefighters could not get to. There just was not, any access to, to put out this fire. Eventually, tear gas was deployed, and we did see, the crowd obviously run from there. But let's just take a walk here across the street. Yeah, this was definitely a fire. We are looking, at car parts here, the burned out remains of what was a car here. It is really hard to believe, some of the scenes that we have come across today. This is a restaurant, State and Lake. It's connected to the Witt Hotel. Graffiti all through the front. The door right here smashed out. If we just continue along here, we're seeing more of the same. Mixed in, with the glass, we are seeing merchandise. But look at this. This is a restaurant. This is a, high volume, high traffic tourist area in Chicago. These tables are covered in glass. Chairs are thrown over. The bar is destroyed.
We were actually about a block and a half away when we saw some looters bust this thing down. Now, initially, what I can tell you is what we saw them using was this pole right here, this piece of debris. They were using that to whack the store open. Eventually, we heard what we believe to be gunshots. Take a look at the mannequin right over here, the middle one. We believe that the hole in the chest there may have been one of the bullets that was fired, which ultimately helped to shatter this glass.
Over my shoulder, this is a prime example of what we've seen throughout the night. Look at the windshield of this vehicle. We don't know at this point if in fact officers were inside when this happened, but this is an indication of how things took a huge turn for the worse. And if we continue to pan, not only did they mess up windshields, take a look. I showed you this at 5 o'clock when we were out here. They've spray painted police cars, and look at the tire. It is completely flattened. This has been an ongoing scene that we have seen throughout the evening here on State Street and throughout the downtown area.
This is what we have seen, people just looting stores. If you step on over here, you can see all of the merchandise. You got Adidas shoe boxes empty, Vans boxes. This is what the loop of Chicago. This is State Street, obviously filled with retail stores here. It's unfamiliar. It is unrecognizable here to see the destruction.
All right, so this is the suitcase we just showed you. Somebody almost got out the door with this, okay? This is what's inside of it. Now the police are telling me that they've cleaned out all of the jewelry counters. So somebody tried to fill up this bag. Booze, cigarettes.
And that's what I was talking about earlier. People walking down the street.
Candy.
What does candy do in fighting and helping in this cause? It's simply people that were out for destruction, had no care about the true demonstration that was going on. This does not add this doesn't help the situation, and this is hurtful.
The luggage is more expensive than everything inside there.
Jim, we came here, reports of a fire, people looting the fire trucks, but I want you to see a devastating scene. Central Camera seems to be the source of the fire. You see it on the sign. Since 1899, that is a legendary establishment here in the Loop, the South Loop. Again, you got demonstrators here, obviously, but a huge presence here. I apologize if my voice is muffled. We are wearing masks. It is very hard to breathe, but you can see, I don't know if you can see through that smoke, there are firefighters with hose lines going into Central Camera. There will be nothing in that store. If it wasn't already looted before, everything is now damaged.
I'm showing a picture of a police squad. A police officer took this picture and gave it to me. He said an explosive device was used to blow that squad up. That is an image that pretty much sums up the carnage today. This is a sad day for Chicago. You look around here, you see the damage everywhere. You see the damage of Macy's, and we talked about the looting earlier. You just go anywhere on the street. You go anywhere. You have no justice, no peace, right? There's merchandise everywhere. I don't know what. Jewelry, somebody left jewelry running out of the store.
Were you able to salvage or walk away with anything?
The only thing I salvaged, I took it out of the window. I sort of tapped a fireman on the corner, and he looked that way, and I reached in. And Grandpa's first camera that he ever sold, I was able to get that out of the window.
They will rebuild. Central Camera will be back. It has been here since 1899, and you just heard from the owner. They're going to rebuild. They will be back, Jim.
Charlie, excellent work. Thank you so much. That's quite a perspective from a longtime small business owner who plans to rebuild. It has been a very difficult day in the city's history. A protest over police misconduct started peacefully and turned violent, and now a massive cleanup job has to happen over the next several days, several weeks, all during a pandemic. While we are away, stay up to date. Follow us on social media or go to CBS Chicago on your phone. We leave you now with more dramatic and difficult images from a day of violence and vandalism. We are back here with the CBS 2 Morning News at 5 a.m. Please be safe.